What is up, guys? Welcome back to another episode of the Fantasy Fellow Show. My name's Kyle. Tonight, Monday night, it's about 5 p.m. Central Time here. We have a football game later this evening, the Rams and the Green Bay Packers, but I'm going to cover the Week 16 waiver wire report. This should be the Final Four weekend for most fantasy leagues, so I'm going to admit there's not a lot of fun on the waiver wire this weekend, but we'll try and find some guys that you might be looking at, as well as a couple big injuries. So what we do in this show, I'm going to cover the major injuries that we need to be aware of, and then we'll go over the quarterbacks, the running backs, the wide receivers, the tight ends, and the defenses as well. And then if you guys want to follow along, there is a link in the description that I have this article in there, so you guys can follow along there. And then let's hop right into it. Starting with the injuries to monitor, the quarterbacks injuries. We have Colt McCoy, suffered a concussion, questionable for Week 16. Not sure if he's going to be able to play in this one or not. They do have a backup there that could be probably just forgotten about. We're not going to be relying on any Cardinals quarterback this weekend. So it's Trace McSorley. We're going to have questions on DeAndre Hopkins and James Conner this weekend, I'm sure. But Lamar Jackson, questionable with that knee injury. I think he's going to play. That's been the kind of the rumor. And then Russell Wilson, concussion, probable to play Week 16. He was able to get limited practices in last week, so I feel good about Russell Wilson playing this weekend. Mike White, Jets play on Thursday Night Football. He's listed as doubtful, so expect another game of Zach Wilson. And then the big news drop today on Monday, Jalen Hurts, shoulder injury. He's questionable to doubtful for Week 16. So not great news here. You're probably going to see Gardner Minshew start at Dallas. So I know in Superflex leagues where I have Jalen Hurts, I'm going to be going after Gardner Minshew. He's probably a safe play for a touchdown or two and over 200 passing yards. So I do like Gardner Minshew. We'll talk about more about that when we get to the QBs. But Jalen Hurts, if you have Jalen Hurts, make sure you have a backup plan this week. Jonathan Taylor likely done for the year with that high ankle sprain. Khalil Herbert returning for Chicago. He's worth a stash. He's probably not a good play in Week 16, but maybe Week 17, if anything happens to Montgomery or something like that, maybe Khalil Herbert is in our plans for the championship weekend. We'll see about Damian Harris. He was able to practice in limited capacity last week, but he has the thigh issue. I expect him to play Week 16. It's a tough matchup, though, going up against who are they playing? I think they're playing Cincinnati. Jeff Wilson will watch for his practice reports. Questionable with that hip injury. If he doesn't play, continue to use Raheem Mostert. We'll see if DJ Dallas can go. For Seattle, Justin Jefferson's got a chest contusion. It sounds like he's going to be fine though, but you're going to see a questionable tag on his name there in your fantasy app. Cortland Sutton, questionable to doubtful with the hamstring injury. He's been out for the last few games. Broncos don't really have much to play for. I'd be shocked to see if Cortland Sutton goes this weekend, but you never know. It does seem like Russell Wilson's going to play, so maybe that provides some incentive to get Cortland Sutton in there too. Not sure it's up with Chase Claypool. We're not using him for fantasy, but he's going to be questionable with a knee injury. Nico Collins and Brandon Cooks, both these guys are questionable to doubtful this weekend. I'm really not sure if we're going to see either of these guys the rest of the way. Mecole Hardman, expect him to be activated from IR for the Chiefs. Devontae Parker with that concussion, questionable for Week 16. I would say he's more probable. Corey Davis, it's Thursday night. He's going to be pressed to play. I'm not sure he's probably going to sit in this one, so that's going to make me like Garrett Wilson or Elijah Moore a little bit. We're already hearing Tyler Lockett's going to be out Week 16, has a good chance to play Week 17, so have a backup plan there. Julio Jones, he's not in our fantasy lineups, but he's questionable for Week 16. As long as he's out, that means good things for Godwin, Evans, and even Russell Gage. Treylon Burks, concussion, questionable for Week 16. He's missed the last few weeks here. I expect him to play Week 16. Hayden Hurst, questionable with that calf injury. He's missed the last couple of weeks. Not sure what his outlook's going to be. And then I do expect Dallas Goedert to return from IR this week. So they're going to lose Jalen Hurts probably, but they're going to gain Goddard, and Gardner Minshew should be able to keep the offense functional. But those are the injuries that I got. I might add some more. Again, I'm recording this on Monday, so if you're watching this on Tuesday, check out the link in the description. Go see if I've updated anything in here, because I do kind of make this a live document where I'm continuing to update it. Looking at the quarterback situation, I put a list of quarterbacks here that need to be rostered. I think it's the top 15 or so quarterbacks here on ESPN. You have Josh Allen, Mahomes, Jalen Hurts, Joe Burrow, Justin Herbert, Lamar, Fields, Tua, Dak, Geno, Tom Brady, Kirk Cousins, Trevor Lawrence, Aaron Rodgers, and Deshaun Watson. If any of those quarterbacks are available, please go get them. They are a good play this weekend if they are. If not, we're looking at a list of guys here. Derek Carr, who's about 61% owned. Going up against Pittsburgh, it's not a bad matchup. He could be good for a couple touchdowns. I don't hate it if you need a QB1 this weekend for Jalen Hurts. Daniel Jones, though, is probably my preferred streamer at Minnesota. We saw the Vikings defense really starting to show some cracks the last few weeks. Jared Goff's not a bad play at Carolina. Russell Wilson, probably not. Maybe Brock Purdy against Washington. He's been pretty steady. Ryan Tannehill, interesting against Houston. Probably not going to go Taylor Heineke at San Fran. Andy Dalton, I don't really trust it. Mac Jones versus Cincinnati, no thank you. We'll see if Kenny Pickett can play. Not going to trust Matt Ryan and the Colts. Maybe Zach Wilson, though. He threw for over 300 yards and a couple touchdowns against the Lions. He might be playing some good football right now, and he could be a decent super flex QB2 option. Not going to trust Baker Mayfield or Desmond Ritter. Maybe Sam Darnold. That's more of a desperation play in Superflex. But the guy here is it's Gardner Minshew. If you need someone for Jalen Hurts, just go get Gardner Minshew. It's going to be okay. I think Minshew had some good plays last year for 2 games that I saw for Minshew last year where he got like 14 points and 18 points. So I think that's kind of the range of outcomes that I'm going to expect. Over 200 passing yards and 2 touchdowns should be solid for Gardner Minshew. And then some stashes in Superflex leagues. I don't know who we're going to see week 17, but it's always good to be prepared. Maybe you want to snag your backup if you need somebody. But again, stick with Daniel Jones, Gardner Minshew. Those are the top streamers this week. So that's the quarterbacks. That's all I got there. Let's take a peek at the running back situation. Again, not a great week for running backs. I filter this by ESPN percent rostered, so I know A.J. Dillon, Cam Akers, Rashad White, Jerick McKinnon. These guys are all 60% owned. They're probably gone in your leagues, especially more competitive leagues. But if any of these guys are available, please pick them up, especially Jerick McKinnon. He's a must-start going forward. We can't ignore his volume and his workload that he's got in the last few games. Damian Harris worth a stash if he comes back and plays. And then I listed a bunch of handcuffs here. Samaje Perine, definitely worth a spot. James Cook is definitely worth an ad just in case anything happens to Singletary. Gus Edwards is on the list, but I don't love it. Tyler Algier, though, he was an interesting player yesterday. He had a big game. Tough matchup against Baltimore this weekend, but he could be a desperation RB2 play if you lost Jonathan Taylor. Naheem Hines, maybe not going to start him, though. I'm open to stashing Khalil Herbert. Chuba Hubbard remains to be playing well. Madison, just a handcuff stash. And then with Jonathan Taylor's news, you have Deion Jackson and Zach Moss. Now, Zach Moss led the team in carries on the day. Deion Jackson's the pass catcher. So if you play in PPR formats, I do like Deion Jackson, but I do expect Zach Moss to lead the team in carries. Jackson to be there kind of in third downs and still get a decent bulk of the carries there. It's a good matchup against the Chargers. So going after Deion and Zach Moss, not a bad idea. Jalen Warren remains a solid handcuff. And then Marlon Mack, man, he's been playing really good behind Latavius Murray the last 2 games. He's worth a desperation RB2 play if you need somebody. And then monitor Pierre Strong. If no Damian Harris, Pierre Strong is looking like the RB2 there behind Ramondre. And then same thing with Josh Kelly. He's a strong number 2 behind Eckler, who did get banged up in the first quarter yesterday. He was able to come back. But, hey, if you snag Kelly this week, for free off waivers and Eckler goes down week 16, we got something with Kelly week 17. So those are some of the running backs I like. Again, I might have missed a player or two. I'll add some more to this list tonight and tomorrow. But those are the running backs. Let's look at the receivers. It's always easier to find receivers on the waiver wire here. Again, guys at the top of the list likely to be owned. These 4 up here are all 50% plus. If you can get Pickens, if you can get Samuel, Gallup, these guys are okay plays. But the number 1 would be Donovan Peoples-Jones. If he's out there, he's kind of like the number 1 wide receiver for Deshaun Watson right now. So I like DPJ quite a bit. Marquez Valdes-Scantling, just kind of a desperation wide receiver 3 flex. I do like Treylon Burks. If he's able to go this weekend, he's going to be a low-end wide receiver 3 flex for me. Elijah Moore starting to come around. He's had 2 back-to-back solid games. He could be an interesting option for Thursday Night Football. I'm not going to trust Kadarius Toney. Darius Slayton remains involved in the Giants offense. He's kind of an interesting low-end flex. I expect DJ Chark to have a better game this week. He did go up against the Jets. Most teams struggle against the Jets offensively. So DJ Chark, if he was dropped, or he's still out there on the waiver wire, go ahead and pick him up. I'm not going to trust Hunter Renfrow. Jahan Dotson's coming around, but he still feels like a gamble if you're putting him in your lineup. We'll see about Van Jefferson and the Rams receivers tonight. I should probably add Ben Skowronek or Tutu Atwell to this list. If no Julio Jones, that means Russell Gage is going to be on the field a lot. Mac Hollins is just on the field a lot. He caught a touchdown yesterday. Chris Moore, kind of the de facto Texans wide receiver 1. I don't trust it, though. I would try and avoid staying away from these guys. Basically, from Charker on down, these guys are all desperation plays. So hopefully you can find some value at the receiver position, but we'll move on to the tight ends next. I do have a list of tight ends here that need to be rostered. If they're available, please go scoop them up, especially Dallas Goedert, Darren Waller, returning from injury. But the waiver wire list is it's all about Juwan Johnson, Chigo Okonkwo, Noah Fant intrigues me with Tyler Lockett out. He might be the number 2 receiver this week. Evan Ingram remains a huge piece of that Jags offense on Thursday Night Football. I like that spot for him. And then Dawson Knox has been cooking. The last month and a half or so, Dawson Knox has returned to like a tight end 1 form. So I like Knox quite a bit. Again, Ingram, Fant, Jawan, and Chigo. These are the top ads for tight end. I suppose if you can get a tight end, it's Jawan Johnson. He's just, too hard to ignore what he did yesterday. So I like these guys. Let me know if you have questions on the tight ends. And then we'll finish up here with our defenses that we're streaming. Again, I filter these by percent rostered on ESPN. So teams at the top, more likely to be owned, but 49ers, always a good play. The Ravens, probably the play of the week here against Atlanta at home. I love the Buccaneers at Arizona. They're only about 61% owned, so there might be a chance they're out there. The Saints at Cleveland. That game's going to be basically the entire West Coast and Midwest is going to be nasty, nasty winter weather. So I don't mind the Saints at Cleveland. I like the Bengals at New England as well. The Bengals defense is playing pretty good football right now. And then, of course, the Titans at Houston. I know Houston's been frisky the last couple weekends, but I can't expect that to stay true forever. So those are the defenses, and that's the waiver wire report for week number 16, getting you guys ready for your final 4 of your fantasy playoffs. It's going to be a bit of it's a holiday week. It's tough for me to get everything that I want to put out there, but I will be going live tomorrow night to answer any questions. But I'm leaving Wednesday, so I'm not going to be able to do any live streams Wednesday, Thursday, Fridays. Like I'm gone away from my studio. So I'll try and put out some YouTube shorts and some things like that. Maybe I can try and do a live video on YouTube on my phone. But it looks like only Tuesday night and maybe Wednesday night I could squeeze in one before I leave. But I'm not going to have as many live streams as I was hoping for this week. So I'll do my best. You guys can always reach me at Twitter, TikTok, comment these videos, subscribe, follow, all that good stuff. And yeah, thank you guys so much for your time. Happy holidays. And we'll see you, man. Final 4 of the playoffs. Let's go.